the moment of truth finally arrives. In Genesis chapter 45, Joseph, unable to contain his emotions, orders all the Egyptians to leave the room. Then, alone with his brothers, he reveals himself, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" Shock and fear take hold of the brothers, as they now realize that this powerful governor of Egypt is the brother they sold into slavery years ago. But instead of revenge, Joseph shows love and forgiveness. He explains that everything that happened was part of God's plan to save many lives. Joseph consoles them, saying that God sent him to Egypt to preserve the family during the famine. With tears and hugs, he reconciles with his brothers, especially with Benjamin, whom he holds with emotion. He then instructs his brothers to return to Canaan and bring Jacob to Egypt, assuring them that his family will be well taken care of. Upon learning of the reunion, Pharaoh offers the best resources for Joseph's family. The chapter ends with the brothers leaving in a hurry, laden with gifts and provisions, bringing with them the incredible news for Jacob: Joseph is alive. Joseph could have held a grudge, but he chooses to forgive, recognizing that God used even the evil done to him for a greater purpose. This teaches us that even in adversity, God is in control and can transform pain into blessing. The reunion between Joseph and his brothers is an example of reconciliation, showing that genuine forgiveness heals deep wounds. Furthermore, Joseph's trust in God's sovereignty challenges us to look beyond our circumstances and see the divine plan in action. This story reminds us that even when we feel betrayed or forgotten, God never abandons us and always has a greater purpose for our journey. The description of Joseph sending wagons to fetch Jacob and his family fits the historical records of ancient Egypt. Excavations show that Egypt had chariots used by high-ranking officials, and hieroglyphs depict vehicles similar to those mentioned in the Bible. Pharaoh, in offering land to Jacob and his family, follows a common practice at the time, in which foreigners were welcome to contribute to the Egyptian economy. The gifts sent to Jacob, such as fine clothing and food, are also consistent with Egyptian culture, where clothing symbolized status and power. In addition, Egyptian documents show evidence of periods of famine and grain storage strategies, validating the historical context of Joseph's story. These archaeological finds help support the narrative of Genesis, showing that the events described are consistent with the reality of the time. Often analyzed by theologians as an example of how God transforms suffering into salvation. Joseph, who had experienced rejection, slavery, and imprisonment, now understands that it was all part of the divine plan. His forgiveness of his brothers is a reflection of God's love, pointing to Christ, who also forgives and saves those who betrayed him. The chapter is one of the best examples of divine providence in the Bible, demonstrating that God uses even injustice to accomplish his purposes. The brothers' reaction, initially filled with fear, reflects how we often doubt forgiveness, but Joseph reassures them that God was in control all along. Theological scholarship also highlights that the arrival of Joseph's family in Egypt paves the way for the events of the Exodus, showing the continuity of God's plan for Israel. Archaeological evidence reinforces important details in Genesis chapter 45. Egyptian records, such as the Apura papyri, mention times of famine and the arrival of foreigners in search of food. Egyptian tomb paintings depict Semitic caravans entering Egypt, which coincide with the journey of Joseph's brothers. Artifacts such as rings and jewelry similar to those given by Joseph have been found in excavations, indicating that these practices were common among the Egyptian elite. Furthermore, Egyptian administrative documents show that foreigners were welcomed and settled in fertile regions of the country, just as Pharaoh offered Joseph's family. These archaeological discoveries provide an authentic context for the story, showing that the events described are historically plausible. Joseph's story teaches us lessons that remain relevant today. How often do we hold on to bitterness over past mistakes, failing to realize that God can transform our pain into purpose? Joseph's forgiveness challenges us to let go of bitterness and allow God's grace to heal our wounds. Furthermore, his trust in God's sovereignty encourages us to believe that even the most difficult times have a greater purpose. Just as Joseph recognized that everything happened for the best, we can look at our own difficulties with hope. In the modern world, where so many relationships are broken by hurt and misunderstandings, Genesis chapter 45 shows us the power of forgiveness and reconciliation. God is still at work today, restoring families, healing hearts, and fulfilling His plan in our lives. If you enjoyed this video, please help us by subscribing to the channel, liking it, and sharing it. And remember, each day is a new opportunity to call on the name of the Lord. Until next time.